What's up? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Emotional Entrepreneur Show with Summer and
Jen.
Hello, we're here with you today. So sorry about last week. Sorry I missed it. Thanks for helping us out there, folks, and for waiting for this new episode. So sorry, we rarely miss, but sometimes life just happens, right? So, all right. So we're going to get started because we have something really, really awesome to talk about today. And that's Innovate to Elevate. How are you driving success in a dynamic market? So there's a lot of people doing a lot of unique things out there. It's a very dynamic market. You know, I don't know if you want to, I just don't look at it this way. I don't look at it as competition. You know, the only competition is right here, right? Myself. So it's like, I know we can get wrapped up into a lot of things because of social media, or you see people scaling really quickly. But guess what? So can you. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about, and we want to hear from you about how you're innovating to elevate your business. And we're going to give out a lot of tips. There's a lot of things we want to talk about and cover today. So let's do it. So a couple of things, and I just want to kind of briefly touch on these things, 4 areas, and then there are more that I want to go through. But then, Jen, I know you're going to have a lot to say about this, but embrace the growth mindset. How are you doing that? How are you going into what you do? Are you still in alignment with your vision for either your company or your job, or how are you staying curious? How are you staying creative? And I know Jen's got some tips about this, right? And also, how are you leveraging technology? What are you doing to help your business, to streamline your business, to help support your business with technology that is out there? Are you adopting new technology, new applications? And how are you cultivating a creative culture? Again, something Jen can touch on. And I know she just wrote a book about some of this. So, and then also focusing on customer needs. So how are you tapping into your customers? How are you responding to your customers when your customers or your potential customers out there on social media leave you messages or leave remarks? How are you listening to them? How are you paying attention to that so that you can actually support their pain points? Because they are there. They are talking to you, but how are you out there supporting their pain points and also responding to them? Jen, thoughts?
Yeah, that was a lot.
That was a lot.
That was a lot. What was that?
I said that's 4 things that just 4 things that I touched on, and it is a lot. And there's so many things that we can go into, but cull out from there some of the things that you really think are imperative, important, something to stay focused on, and something to align with.
I think all of them, for me, the one that is kind of like the one that's at the forefront for me is like the technology. A lot of times we're saying we don't have time, or it takes a lot of time, and a lot of it, I like some of the things that we should be doing, I don't want to do. It's not that I don't think that we should do it, or I don't need it. I do. It's not my favorite thing to focus on. And so I'm now looking at different systems or different, ways to like either, outsource it or just pay somebody to do it, because at some point we won't be able to scale anymore. And then I see things when they start to slip through the cracks. It's like, because there's no systems in place, you can't keep doing everything manually after a certain point. Or, do you start putting the technology as minimally as possible just to start? So yeah, but I for me, that's one of the biggest things. It's like, I see that the people that are really, crushing it, there is some kind of system. There is a system in place, and there is definitely technology involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's also mindset. How are you going into this? Who do you think you're out there competing with? I know that things change all the time, but how are you staying curious? How are you constantly seeking new knowledge? And how are you doing your research? What fuels your curiosity? So are you asking yourself those questions, or are you just going along day to day doing the things that you normally do, and all of a sudden things are falling flat? So how is what you're doing resonating or still resonating with you? And sometimes I think it's great to take a step, just to a step aside, so you can just kind of reflect and have those reflection points of, okay, so what I'm doing today, is it working for me? Is it really sparking my curiosity? Is it sparking my interest? Is it still in alignment with my principles or values or pillars, whatever you want to call them? And I think sometimes we get lost, and we get lost doing the same thing over and over. And it might become mundane, or two, it might be that we're getting lost because we're trying to keep up with other people, or that's what we think, right? And I don't necessarily think that's the best approach, but that's just my opinion. And if somebody else has another opinion, please speak up, because I think what's happening is, when we do that, we tend to get really frayed when we're trying to keep up with other people, or trying to be a chameleon, or trying to look like something else or somebody else doing what they're doing. Stop, hold, time out. That's what I have to tell myself. And sometimes it is visualizing that big old stop sign saying stop. And one of the things I just saw recently, I saw a friend who is very much on LinkedIn. They're very active on there. And I was like, where have they gone? What are they doing? I'm just curious, and I wanted to make sure that they were okay. So what I do is,
they weren't showing up anymore?
No, they weren't showing up. And I was like,
Okay.
okay, I'm going to go check in the DMs. I'm going to go and I'm going to ask, what's going on? Are you okay? Those kinds of things, because I do, I may not meet somebody in person or know them, have met them face to face, but I am concerned about my social media community, because we are a close-knit community and we do support each other. So what they said was, hey, we decided to take the summer off. We decided to take the summer off from social media, regain, and just gain perspective about what we're doing, our own milestones, our own values. And she said, oh my gosh, it's been so refreshing. And I was just like, yeah, you know what? Just hearing you say that makes me feel good.
I have the opposite problem.
Jen, I know. You get going. Jen gets going. And then all of a sudden you're like, where'd you go?
I'm just like, I'm over it right now. I'm so over it. Like, I never get to the point of burnout. I'm just like, I don't want to do this. And so nobody checks on me.
But I would. I would.
I talk to you outside of this.
I know.
I'm just horrible with it. But it's like, I know that too. I know that. And I'm just, I don't know. I think I'm just at a point where I'm like, why am I doing that? Yeah. I don't do it because like I have to, or I feel forced to. It's more of like, I'm always constantly asking me like, well, why am I doing that? Yeah. Is there a system in place? Is there intentionality behind something I'm putting out there? Or am I just putting it out there just to put out there because I didn't put something out there? And I'm over that. Like, yeah. So if I miss that, if I didn't do something, I'm not gonna just slap something out there just for the sake of it. So then it ends up that I don't. But I'm doing a lot of reflecting. Like, I'm like, I don't want to do it myself. I'm gonna find somebody to do it for me. That's where I'm at.
You know what? That's okay. That gets me to my next point, actually. And thank you for bringing that subject up. If it's something you don't like to do, then don't freaking do it. Like, make sure that you are connecting with people or somebody or a service that can help support that. Because if you don't like to do it, but you know that it's going to be important for your business, and that's something else, that's another area that you can think about. If it's important for your business, is this going to help your business get more exposure, interaction? Is it going to elevate what you're doing? If you don't think so, or if you don't like to do it, find a way that you can either one, still do it, but not have to have your hands in it all the time, or two, if it's not going to benefit your business, and I'm not just talking social media, but maybe other procedures or processes that you were doing, take a look at that and see how it actually is supporting your business. See if it's helping your business, if it's supporting your business, or your business is dropping off because you're not doing what you were doing.
Right.
And I think that's really important. And that gets me to the next point that I had mentioned earlier is leveraging technology. And there's so much technology. Jen's dropping, names about apps and about different things that I can use all the time, which I appreciate tremendously, because there's certain things out there that really can help support your business. And you just need to ask. You just need to look. Utilize those latest technologies. Don't be afraid. If it's difficult, ask for help. Somebody's using it. Somebody who owns that wants to have, a Q&A out there that you can access to be able to use these apps. We've got Google. We've got places to search. I mean, if you were to go back in the 80s and you had to go to a Britannica encyclopedia, that might be a different story. But we've got so many things, so many ways to ask for help. So don't be intimidated by the new technology. Make sure that you're looking at that and see how that technology can support and streamline your process and your business and improve the customer experience. Because really, this is about you, but it's also about their experience. And so those applications that you're using, you want that to support your customers. Because there's so many things that I could say about technology. Some of it's great, some of it's right? I was riding in the car with a friend yesterday, and she's trying to hook up to, those medical, those behind the scenes. You go to a doctor and they have their medical platform that you can log into.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's trying to do that. And she's like, I've got to access something else and a code and a this, and I've got to put in a 14, 15, length password. And she's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I was like, that stuff gets tedious. So you don't want that kind of stuff to interfere with your business. So take a look at the applications and how is it actually, one, staying ahead of trends, and two, is it actually helping you, and is it helping your customer, or is it too overwhelming for your consumer to use? So, and then also creating and cultivating a creative culture. So how are you doing that for yourself? Are you staying curious? This is really important because I know that Jen and I, we can get bored really easily, right? Oh my gosh. And that's why we like to hop around. When I was a kid, my dad used to say I was taking tap, ballet, gymnastics, all these different classes. And I was like, bored, bored, bored. And he's like, hold up. What's happening here? You got to stick with something, right? So I finally stuck with soccer. I was like, no, this is more me. It's outside. I can do that. Yeah. And so, not that I didn't do those other things, but there were certain things that I liked. I didn't like to be confined to a gym. Get me outside. Let me run around. Let me, get in there and be a little competitive. There's certain things I'm competitive about. There's certain things I'm not competitive about. And here's the thing. So I want you, hey, Tony, I want you to also evaluate that. What's keeping you excited? How are you creating that creative culture within your business for yourself that's keeping you excited and ahead of trends so that you can be competitive? And again, we're talking about how to innovate to elevate. And these are just tips to take on so that you can think about, what am I doing here today? Is this filling my soul, my spirit? And if not, what will? How are you continuing to be creative? How are you continuing to be in alignment with your values or your vision for your business? Jen?
Yeah. One of the things I think with technology that I've noticed that's been really helpful for me is like I've been on certain newsletters that talk about like the latest, programs or the latest things in certain AI programs, and then just following people that teach it. So, if you're somebody that's maybe afraid to embrace it, or a lot of people will say things. I hear this all the time. I'm afraid of the tech. The tech is not my thing. Like, it's a very, very common thing that I hear all the time.
Yeah.
And I think and rightfully so, because it can be daunting, it can be confusing, and you don't, and it's not your thing. But it doesn't have to be scary. And I think if you just start with, like, if there's a program or something, an app that you've heard about and you've been hesitating, like, just do some simple research on like YouTube. Like, literally just go look at some videos on YouTube. That's my biggest tip. I'm going to even make that my nugget. Like, go on YouTube and look up videos that people will break it down. Because sometimes if you go to the website, they will not break it down the way real users will explain it on their YouTube channel. So you will get far more information going on YouTube and looking at people who are like, hey, this is my honest review of XYZ app, and this is how I use it. And you'll have like tons of coaches that talk about, or they'll tell you like, I was using this, but I actually like this one better. And then you can start getting like, oh, I didn't hear about this one. So, I mean, that's how I will learn about new apps. But I'm subscribed to a lot of different newsletters, especially with technology, and seeing like all the different things that are coming out with AI and all the different things that, people, how are they using it on systems and programs. And it can be a lot, but it's important to me. I do like that stuff. I don't, I just embrace like, okay, it's just, this is the age we live in, where we're constantly having to learn different things. Because I will say, this is what I've noticed. You're not going to be able to scale. You're not going to be able to go as fast. And you're always going to, if you're going to just keep doing everything manually, you are just not going to grow it, or you will experience burnout. And I know for me personally, what I want is like, I want things on automation. Yeah. But that's not going to happen if I don't put some kind of system in place, if I don't start learning what I could put into place. And they don't have to be complicated. I've seen some that are very simple. And if you want to do it manually, that's totally fine. It's up to you. I just know for me, that's not what I want to do. I want to be able to have money coming in without me having to respond manually to everything, so things like that. But if you are a little intimidated, go on YouTube and look up a particular app or program. And then, I mean, it's amazing how some people just explain it so well. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this wasn't so bad. Or you might even find out like, you know what, I don't want that anymore. There was a different, and sometimes in the comments, somebody else will explain like, oh, I actually use this. And then I will check that out. And I'm like, or sometimes the person doing the review will mention like, but there's 2 other ones I like to use for XYZ if I'm doing this. Yeah. And it's that simple to just kind of get exposed to the different things that are available to you. But please embrace it. Because this is the age that we live in with technology, and learning how to integrate it into our online businesses, even brick and mortar, even if you sell like, physical products, but to keep staying in that mindset of like, I don't do tech, I'm afraid of it. I want to encourage you to push past that.
Yeah, I love that, Jen. YouTube University. Right. Jen loves YouTube, and for good reason, because there's a lot of really great information out there. And it's not just based on what you're looking at in the video, but if you look at the content under their video, they will put a ton of content under there in regards to walking you through what they're talking about from step 1 to step 10. They will put in additional applications potentially that they use this, they use this, they use this, but they found this to work best for them. You can try A, B, or C. And they might even review that later on down the road. So it's like there's so much content out there, and even within one YouTube video. So again, don't forget to look at the content below, because they offer a lot of great information. As Jen said as well, comments are great too. And so other people who are watching those videos will say, wait, I used it this way. And guess what? I was able to use this shortcut, or I was able to do A, B, or C. I mean, we're looking all the time. I'm looking at this stuff thinking there's so much out there. And if I don't know how to do something, I'm going to look. I'm going to research it. Talk about technology, having money coming in and having and using technology to your benefit. So just a little story. So when I was gone last week, I was in North Carolina for some doctor's appointments, and there was an emergent situation that I had to attend to. But around that, I tried to have some fun. One of the businesses that I went to go visit was called the Peppered Cupcake. Now,
Cute.
it was, not only was it cute, Jen, but it was using technology in a way, and it structured a business in a way that I was like blown away. I was like, oh my gosh. And I've only seen this, not technology wise, but the trust that they were putting into the community by doing and setting up their business this way. Let me tell you. So here's the deal. I walk into this place. It's this cute little corner store. It's in a nice enough neighborhood off the water in Wilmington in North Carolina. It's on a side street. So I go in there, we walk in, there's nobody there. There's no counter. There's nothing except the cupcakes. The cupcakes are all in their little packaged, pretty little clear plastic containers, and they're displayed beautifully. There's cameras everywhere. And they say, here's how you do this. You pick out a bag, and they've got directions in the shop. You pick out a bag, you choose your cupcakes. Here's the QR code. Scan the QR code, pay for your cupcakes, leave. That's it. Nobody's there.
Have you been to the Amazon market?
Yes, I've been to the Amazon market, but there are people still in the Amazon market. There was no one there. And I was just like, there's cameras, and they say, we see you.
Right.
Just either put your money in the little, if you have cash, you can put your money, they don't give change, or you can pay by QR code.
That's brilliant.
It was awesome. I was like, this is stinking awesome. Oh my gosh. Now this is the way to use technology. They're not having to man it, but they're putting a lot of trust in their community, saying, hey, we've got cameras watching you.
Can't do that in LA.
Yeah, but it's happening. It's happening everywhere, right? And there was a solid place that they were going to do it at. They're doing it in DC. It's downtown DC. So if you think it's not happening in a big city, it's happening. It is happening. And I say that I saw something akin to this. It wasn't technology, but when I lived in Okinawa, Japan, you would go through and drive through these narrow little roads, and people would pop up their little shops, and they would have these little containers, and they'd say, pick out your fruit, vegetables, or your flowers, and just leave the money in the container.
Oh yeah, they have that in Hawaii.
Which is awesome. And so I used to pick up flowers every weekend, right? And just put in 5 yen. And I was like, I'm good to go. I have flowers for the whole week now. It was awesome. But now they're using technology to do it just by using a QR code. Now, when you look at this technology, one of the things that you really want to do is you want to keep it connected with the trends. You want to be ahead of the trends. You want to read those technology magazines. You want to read, some of the headlines that are coming out. Like Jen said, she reads these newsletters. There are blogs. There are podcasts about these things. Get ahead of the trends. Find out what might work for you. And so I think that when I saw that business structure, I was like, it's not gonna work for every business structure, but it did work for them. So again, look at your structure and see what might work for you. That might support both your creativity, also help streamline how you're making money and how you're serving your consumers. Jen?
That's cool. Now I want a cupcake.
I was just so stoked. It was like, okay, I went in there for the cupcake, and then I came out with the experience. And I was just like, hell yeah, this is awesome. Oh my gosh. And I was just like, oh, I wish I could do that.
I wonder how many times they have to go in there to stock it.
I'm sure she goes up to set it up every day because, these cupcakes are sitting out and you want to make sure they're fresh. So, but she's been doing it for 4 years now.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. Literally.
It's simple because it's one product with different flavors. It's not like 20 different things. Like, you know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
like there's sandwiches and then there's, you
Right.
know, this. So that does make it a lot simpler to do it like that.
But let me tell you something else. Okay, so here's another idea. So when I lived in Japan, I would go to mainland Japan in Tokyo. And let me tell you, if you go to Tokyo, they will have vendors a half a block long. Now, they're not just soda vendors, like, machines. They are machines that spit out full meals, bento boxes, hot chicken, fried chicken. I'm like, what is happening? It was so cool. And I mean, they were hot. It was like fresh. I was
Wow.
like, wow. And then they had cold things. And so it even happened in Okinawa. Now, I say Okinawa is different from mainland Japan, and Okinawans call themselves Okinawans. And Okinawa is more like Hawaii. It is tropical. You've got a lot of foliage everywhere, right? It's the jungle, essentially. You've got the jungle and the beach. But in the jungle, they even have out there vending machines to sell soda, hot coffee, beer, wine.
Nice.
So you can stop along the road, put in your license, grab a beer, and go. And that was like back in 2008 when I lived there. So imagine that. That was on a little island. And I was like, where's the plugs? How are they plugging this stuff in the jungle? Right? So it was just crazy. And it was in Tokyo, it was a whole different ball game. Wow. So talk about being able to go in and just make money and serve food and have that at our ready. It was like futuristic.
Right.
It was so cool. But yet, why are we not seeing that here? So look at the trends that are happening, not just here, maybe in different countries. Look at those blogs, look at those magazines and say, how's this going to help my business? Because when I walked into that business, I was wowed. I was like, okay, she's using technology to really advance her business, and she's not having to be on site all the time.
Or having to hire some, high school kid that's going to just be on their phone.
Exactly. So when I say, I'm looking at things all of the time, as is Jen. Not just here, yes, in different cities, but exploring different businesses, exploring their patterns, their behavior, exploring what they're doing, the applications that they're using. It's so incredible what we're seeing out there. So don't be afraid of technology. Don't be afraid of change, and don't be afraid of getting creative. Jen?
Yeah. No, I love that. It's so cool to see the different examples, especially from other countries.
Yeah.
But every time it's always Japan, and I'm always reminded of like how behind we are as a country.
We are in certain ways, in other ways, no. I mean, I think our medical is top notch. I think their technology is incredible, and it's how we're using the technology, right? And so that technology can really help us or hinder us. And there's always got to be, remember, in some of this, even with technology, there's got to be a human component. So even with going into that business, what I loved was, guess what she had on the wall? Her story. Her story.
Yeah.
How she started. And you know what? When you read that story, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I went into another business that is not yet here in DC. It's called Chicken. It was called Chicken something Chick. And it's all they served was chicken salad. Chicken salad Chick, I think is what it was called. And it was awesome. So they're using certain technology, they're getting out, and they just serve chicken salad, and they're starting to spread all over the country, and they're starting to do gangbusters. The line was out the door at 11:30 in the morning.
I was reading something about that last night in a newsletter on one of them. It was from a marketing guru, and he said something exactly that. The people that scale are the people that are so focused on that one offer.
Cupcakes.
One cupcake. I mean, different flavors. It's cupcake.
It's cupcake.
Not selling pizzas in there. They're not selling, this, and this other one is salad. So the interesting thing is the thing that you're noticing. It's the people that are focused, hyper focused, and being able to scale it and make that one thing so good.
Absolutely. I love that. Now we've reached our 30-minute mark. Jen, your nugget for the day?
I'm going to use again what I said. Go on YouTube. Go to YouTube. If there is an app, or even if there's something that, think of one thing that if it could be improved, and if whatever that issue or challenge or problem is, heck, use ChatGPT or Gemini. I love Gemini, by the way. That's my other favorite AI tool now. It's Google's version of ChatGPT. And ask it, like, what apps are out there that could help me with XYZ?
Yeah.
I mean, do the research, but here's the thing. You can use the tools to help you do the research faster. Like, I do not waste my time clicking on a bunch of stuff when these AI apps can just tell me the answer, and then I can go from there. It's like it takes me 80% of the way, and then I can go down more rabbit holes faster and sooner, versus me trying to think of the right answer in Google and then clicking on links that I don't even know if I'm going to get the answer. So there's, that's my nugget. And then go into YouTube and like start looking up these apps and what they can do. I mean, that's probably the easiest, simple way for you to just get familiar with what's out there that could help you with a particular thing you've been, wanting to do it in a simpler way.
Yeah, I love that, Jen. I'm going to add, and this is going to be my nugget, I'm going to add to that. So I want you to keep in mind when you're using these apps, there's always liability to everything. So there, at the beginning, when people were really starting to use ChatGPT, there were some lawyers who were using it, and they were accessing it, and they were wanting some case law. And so they were trying to look up case law, and they started inserting that into, the cases that they were creating. And they got in trouble because it didn't give the most accurate information, or it gave abbreviated information. Remember, this is your starting point. It's not your end point. So if you question something about data, numbers, research, go back and research that. It is a starting point. And so it does help you. And remember, these are things are to assist you, right? And to make sure that things are more streamlined, so you're doing things more efficiently, but it's not your end all. So make sure as a researcher, to reduce your liability, go check the numbers, go check the data. And I think that's important. So with that said, anything else, Jen?
Nope.
Yeah. Oh, Mike Petty heard about that too. Yeah. So, and that's just one example. So just, again, it's a starting point. It's a great starting point. I use it. I love the tools out there. So don't get me wrong. I absolutely love them. But even when you're using ChatGPT, put your flavor, put your essence, put your spirit into what you're giving it, so it can create something around that that's going to be helpful for you. That's going to actually be part or infuse who you are into what it's also creating. And it also gets to know a little bit more about you, and it starts becoming a little bit more intuitive about, she might ask this, or this is what she's doing. So you don't have to be repetitive about, always asking it to do something. Just say, can you please add this? And it'll reconstruct or reconfigure what it's giving you. Yes, double check your information always. Reduce your liability. With that said, thank you, everybody, for joining us today. If you have friends who need to hear some of this, please pass on this information and this show, because this will be posted soon or this week in regards to a replay. And we're going to dance our way out of here. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Take care.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Okay, why is it not playing? Oh, you know why? I turned it down.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye. Have a great week. Thank you.